Welcome. My name is Dennis Bihus, and you're watching a program on anti-corruption investigation, Our Money. Today's topic is unusual for our mostly economic-oriented program. Of course, we are going to have all the usual prosecutors, their wealth, which exceeds their annual salary, but that's secondary. What impresses the most is that 4 years after the Revolution of Dignity, people who put activists in jail are now investigating crimes against said activists during the revolution. Really, a prosecutor who demanded prison sentences for Maidan activists now works at the General Prosecutor's Office and investigates crimes against the Maidan. Now, watch Danila Mokruk illustrating the joke about an investigator who turned up in his own investigation. I had to break my blood off when I sat behind the bars at court. Cases were lying in stacks and were just signed in quick succession. I think that prosecutors like this must not work in the system, let alone investigate cases about Maidan. He may be in the case himself. Don't drive from Kyiv to Ladizhin by car without a really good reason. It's a long, boring, and really bad road. We went for the information about the oldest prisoner of the Revolution of Dignity. My client is a person of a very advanced age. He is 72 years old. Mykola Pasechnik arrived in Kyiv on 22nd of January. In a couple of hours, he was arrested by the Berkut, charged with rioting. The prosecution demanded pre-trial detention. The Obolon District Court agreed. Shame, shame, shame. Tell me please, do you have children? We wanted to know the names of people who put a 72-year-old pensioner behind bars, to know how they are doing. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This ruling is absent from the public registry. Already, 76-year-old Pasechnik has the only copy. They held us till night. We undressed, the doors open. It was freezing outside. In the second night, they brought us to court. And when they brought us to court, I had to break my blood off when I sat behind the bars at court. After this story, Pasechnik gave us the papers containing the names of the judge, the investigators, and the prosecutors. Now, we knew who to look for. We only had to find where they are now. Google, registries, coffee, and sources quickly gave me the results. Prosecutor Alina Minchuk happened to be in Kyivpastrans prosecutor's office. Her new last name is Holovko. She led at least one more case against an activist of the revolution, Vasil Slivinsky. She wasn't vetted. Her husband, Pavlo Holovko, is also a prosecutor. He also worked against the revolution. He led the cases against activists Roman Tisivsky and Edward Kruzhanivsky. He wasn't vetted either. Now he works as senior investigator of the Department of Special Investigations, Prosecutor General's Office. He investigates crimes against Maidan and the Revolution Court rulings on the two activists who were also absent from the registry. That's why we had to find Kruzhanivsky himself. In a second, I'm on the ground. They kick me. They put money in my mouth. I got away with bruises in the end. Why the money? I don't understand. I had 4 hryvnias with me for the metro. On 20th of February, the investigator and the prosecutor requested a house arrest for him. The trial was moving incredibly fast. In 1.5 minutes, people already left. They were all sent to a pre-trial detention center. It was ridiculous. The activists were released then on personal recognition. The copy of the ruling has the prosecutor's name, Holovko P.L. We told Edward that the prosecutor who tried to jail him now investigates crimes against the Maidan. I don't understand the logic behind this. It doesn't make any sense. How can it be? Our thoughts exactly. There are some really funny documents. For example, after the revolution, prosecutors had to file the so-called Declarations of Trustworthiness. It's a form where you have to sign everywhere that you're nice. For example, take the first field. I did not commit any actions that dishonor the name of a prosecutor and may cast doubt on my impartiality and independence, on the honesty and incorruptibility of the prosecutor's office. They just have to write confirm. Pavlo Holovka did just that, and his wife Alina did. By the way, about trustworthiness, Holitsivsky District Prosecutor's Office had an examination after the revolution on whether the persecution of activists was legal. That's where Pavlo Holovka worked. One of the examining prosecutors was Olha Mirhorodska. Now, she has a lot of warm group photos with the Holovkos. The Holovkos' property declarations aren't as funny. A humble flat on Peremohi Avenue. They really live there, we've checked. Plus humble cars, humble salaries, savings of $50,000 between them. But at the beginning of January, they put in a couple of new real estate items on the list. In summer, Holovko bought this in the Kyiv region. Humble houses, too. Minimal market price for this is $24,000. A reasonable one is $45,000. The real price is unknown. Pavlo Holovko didn't state it. Meanwhile, his father-in-law, Leonid Minchuk, finished building his house in Kyiv. A house like this in Osokorki district costs not less than $140,000. True, comparing to other prosecutors and their relatives, this isn't much, but you have to have that money still. We could find neither Alina's mother nor father in this entrepreneur registry. Questions arise. Then we took another look at the declarations. Something was wrong. Pavlo Holovko got 2 new houses while saving only increased instead of decreasing. Increased by $3,500. Is a $1,000 monthly salary enough for a purchase of $20,000? It's time to make a hopeless call. Everything you want to know is in the declaration, or you can ask the prosecutor's office press service. We're used to answers like this on declaration issues, but we had a question that was worth more effort. How come that same prosecutor could then prosecute revolution activists and now investigate crimes against the revolution? And if the prosecutor sees this as a paradox? This is not a question for the press service. We knew where Pavlo Holovko lives. We just had to wake up early, catch him by his house, and ask that to his face. Danilo Mokrik, our money. Let me ask you a question. How could you prosecute activists and now work in the Special Investigations Department? I don't want to comment on this. Come on, seriously. You can ask the press service of the office. What can the press service tell us about you? What can it tell about the cases you led? Wish you all the best.
Не може прокурор
A prosecutor can't properly investigate cases against people who did almost the same as he did during the Euromaidan revolution. He can turn up in his own investigation because all the actions committed by the prosecutors were influenced from above, by the same people who were his superiors. This is absurd and impossible. That's what we thought. But what if during an investigation, Pavlo Holovko would have had to interrogate Edward Kruzhanivsky, his ex-accused, or Mykola Pasichnik, whose arrest Pavlo's wife Alina had demanded? Why was Holovko employed at this department at all? There's only one person we could ask about that, head of said department, Serhiy Horbatyuk. That's not quite right, but we have to deal with the situation we were put in. At first, a person is sent to our group. That means we ask the city prosecutor's office or a regional one to send us people who can work. We don't decide whom. A person is transferred to our group, then we evaluate their professional qualities. Then we decide if they join the staff. In this case, we made this decision and we're expecting criticism, but that's our responsibility. That was the answer. The system doesn't remember, and people forget too. Even Mykola Pasichnik told us that the head trauma he got in 2014 from police affects his memory. I forget a lot of it progresses. I don't have the... 2 years ago, it wasn't noticeable. Not only governmental registries suffer from memory loss, for example, the judicial one, which forgot all the rulings against the activists, mentioning Pavlo and Alina Holovko's names. Our longtime viewers remember that our program began with investigations of public procurement. 5 to 7 years ago, this was a huge source of embezzlement. Raspberries for $20 per kilo, enormous overpays for Boyko's oil rigs. Procurement was the center of corruption. Eventually, most of it was sorted out. Of course, procurement corruption still exists. But when the electronic procurement was implemented, the dumbest dinosaur schemes finally got extinct. Everyone thought so. But in the depths of Kyiv public transport, a whole hidden world remained. Marina Antsiferova on how you can just hand out $3.5 million to your relatives. September 2014. After the change of leadership in Kyiv public transport, every department gets checked. The head of construction, Ihor Borak, gets suspended after an audit, and Borak robs his own office. He exited with bags full of some documents. It's obvious that those were the documents he wanted to hide. Yuri Korbal, a young reformist and successor of Borak as the head of construction, comments on this wild situation. The Directorate for Construction and Maintenance of Transport Facilities is responsible for tram and trolley lines. Even the Kyiv funicular is their achievement. The Directorate spends hundreds of millions of hryvnia annually on construction and maintenance, so that's a valuable and important place. You need a plan, or more like a project, to construct a tram line. The Directorate doesn't make its own projects, they order them through public procurement. They order tram and trolley lines. Even the Kyiv funicular was finished this way. Last year, they ordered a half-train, half-tram for the Tryashina district. Now you have to take a tram, a train, and a metro. So we pondered, what if Tryashina residents wouldn't have to get a tram to the train, but the train would come to them directly? The directorate has ordered projects on the reconstruction of tram lines 13 times. 12 of the orders were won by the same company, Sofia, and the 13th was won by said company's friends. Sofia doesn't just win all the Kyivpastrans tenders, they win only them. They got contracts for a total of $2.5 million, and that's not even construction, that's just the projects. Designing public transport is a very important thing. You'd want a serious company with a lot of experience to do this. Considering that this kind of company has the highest chances to win the bid. But that's not how Sofia's story goes. The head of Sofia is Artem Shipsky, a video editor at various TV channels. He was looking for a job recently. Now he leads a project bureau. Well, not exactly leads. I'm the head, I sign documents. You only sign documents? Do you know what the company does? Of course, what it says it does. And what does it say? How does it go? An architecture and restoration enterprise. 57-year-old Viktor Rafalsky is its founder. Prior to that, he was an electrician. Where does he work? He's a retired pensioner. Already? Maybe he's a businessman, has a firm? No, he had a stroke. Can an engineer with a stroke start a successful business on public service money and earn $2.5 million? Piece of cake, if it's a motivational movie about success. Or if the engineer is the uncle of the directorate's head. The said head of directorate Yuri Kurbal is Rafalsky's nephew. The head engineer Rafalsky wins public bids, CEO/video editor signs documents, and the head nephew accepts services. A harmonious family, isn't it? Do you know Viktor Rafalsky? I think I met him once when he was the head of that company. Do you know he's your uncle? Why would you think that No, I don't know that. Only the journalists disturb that harmony. This is a violation of the law when one of your relatives is your partner in certain activities. Yuri, I wasn't asking about that. What did you ask then? Why are you asking direct questions like that? Maybe you want to ask about my relationship with my mother? His uncle also pretends not to know his nephew. Do you know Yuri Kurbal? I don't know him. You want Kurbal? Go to Kurbal. So you know him or you don't? I don't know him. I wanted to talk about Sofia with you. Goodbye. The uncle is not included in the list of relations recognized as being family relations, so there's no way to contest the bidding results. To win a bid, you need a nephew, but you need competitors to take part. Can't have a competition without them. So the directorate created them. Sofia constantly competes with Transelectro Project and Rosmissel Bureau, and one of the competitors sits right in Sofia's office. Are you Tatiana, the head of Transelectro Project, which takes part in bidding with Sofia? Please prepare your questions. Are you Tatiana or not? My name is Tatiana. A single question. There are a couple of firms here, is this correct? No. What's your job here? Please prepare your questions and I'll answer. Tatiana, do you work here? Is this your workplace? Young woman, we didn't schedule a meeting with you. I know. Do you work here? What are you doing here alongside a competing company? I'm currently sitting and talking on the phone. Do you work here? No, I drink tea. Current Ukrainian law understands non-competitive concerted actions as the assumption that certain people have coordinated their actions which would allow them to achieve an advantage, for example, in the bidding process, and which violates the principles of fair competition. Rozmysl Bureau was created by employees of Kharkiv Project Institute, which is subcontracted by the winning Sofia to create the projects. The head of construction of Kyivpastrans isn't troubled by the competitors' friendliness to each other or by his winning relative. I don't check all the participants of our procurement. I understand that if we hold a bidding using the public procurement system Prozoro and the enterprise meets the requirements, I don't have any reason not to sign the agreement. Well, Prozoro does its job. There, we can see that a construction company of Yuri Kurbal's cousin Yevhen Rafalsky also wins Kyivpastrans bids with a total worth of $1 million. Overall, Kurbal's relatives get $3.5 million, and he doesn't even talk to them. In our country, I can't forbid people to work and conduct any kind of business. While the relatives conduct business, it's Kurbal who gets new cars and other property. With an annual income of $4,000, Kurbal manages to build a nice house by a lake in Kyiv in just 2 years. He declared a building in progress of 150 square meters, while in reality, it's not 150 square meters, and it's ready. I'm looking at the unfinished construction mentioned in his declaration. In 2016, Kurbal's mother buys some land near Kyiv. Not long before that, she was looking for an accountant assistant job. His wife, with a yearly income of $7,000, at first becomes an owner of an apartment in a Kyiv suburb and then spends $35,000 on a Toyota Camry. As far as I know, she bought the car on credit and she paid it. You should have mentioned credit debts in your declaration. I did. No, you didn't. Well, maybe we made a mistake there. During our talk about his wife's money, she gradually becomes his ex-wife. Your wife is a financial director, correct? She was, but I don't know her current job. We currently don't live together, so I don't know. Yuri, on the other hand, bought himself a used Mitsubishi Pajero for 3 of his yearly earnings. September 2018. Suspended head of construction Ihor Borak hastily retrieves documents, which may discredit him from his office. Yuri Kurbal, a humble candidate for the position, comments on the situation. He exited with bags full of some documents. It's obvious that those were the documents he wanted to hide. We hope that Yuri Kurbal won't take after his predecessor, meaning that he will leave the documents for investigators and his successor. It must be really exciting to read. That's all for today. Write us on social media. If you have an interesting idea, please email us. Watch us on YouTube. We'll see you on air in a week. This was Our Money, and my name is Dennis Bihus.